All right, guys, welcome back to the pod. It's your host, Anthony Mitchell. Unfortunately, this is an impromptu podcast recording, so I didn't do you guys the due diligence of getting a more sophisticated special guest, but on a more somber tone. It is just me, and I hope to be able to grace you guys' presence with something that I think is a little more somber in tone than anything that we have talked about, but hopefully it will help someone. And before I get too deep into this podcast recording, I got to give a shout out to all of my listeners, whether they're coming by way of Anchor, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or anywhere that this podcast is played. I want to shout you guys out and thank you. As some of you guys know, I am fresh off of my 30th and holding birthday. Got a lot of love from you guys, a lot of text messages, inboxes, those sorts of things. So if you took the time out of your day to make my day special, I love you. There's also some of you guys know it is Black History Month. Let's not let this month pass by. It is the shortest month of the year. At least take a little time to learn something about the historical contributions that African Americans have not only played in the United States, but worldwide. That is often something that has gotten minimalized over history, that yes, this is the United States of America. Black history is American history. However, because of this weird storytelling, sometimes we are often relegated to just a month. But guys, again, don't let this month pass by without you learning something about the historical contributions of African Americans, Blacks, Caribbeans, West Indians, nationwide, worldwide. Got it? Get it? Good. Anyway, today, as I said, today's episode is more on a somber tone. And this is a story that I've been given clearance by a friend to share, and it's in the area of broken trust. Wanted to talk about this for a moment because at some point in life, all of us will experience broken trust. You'll have maybe some friendships that you've invested heavily in. You'll have people that, they just make you feel good. You guys have so much in common. It feels like, man, you guys are going to be friends forever. And then something happens that drives a wedge in that friendship. It's the same thing with relationships. It's the same thing in families. Sometimes wedges are driven between people that once used to be close and people that were once friends, used to be good friends, now become enemies. In this particular story, a friend of mine was dating a young lady for many, many years. And over the course of dating many years, they dated almost 8 years to be precise. They seem to have like this model storybook relationship. Like they never argued. They would sometimes wear matching clothing, and they always just, if there was a such thing as a relationship goal, they seemed to be that. High school lovers, they went through prom and so many events together, to where it was inevitable what direction this particular relationship was going with. And however, I did notice that as they crossed over high school, got through college, that as they got older, I think to me it kind of started looking from the outskirts that as they were maturing, that maybe they weren't as tight as maybe we thought they were. Because, sometimes at given stages in life, as you begin to hit certain milestones, you'll start realizing that some of your friends you may not have as much in common with, because now your life interests are beginning to change. Now the things that you're attracted to, your passions, you know what I'm saying? All of that begins to change. Sometimes after college, or at that life turning event, for some people is high school, you'll start noticing that even your friend circles are beginning to change. And sometimes with those friend circles, like ideals and the way you see things, and your taste in music, your taste in food. Some people are more adventurous than others. Some are not. Some are stuck in a box they'll forever be in. But some people want to explore. And with that, you start noticing changes. So in this relationship, I started noticing some changes, but of course, it's not up to me to speak on anybody else's relationship. But we noticed that still they had a good relationship. They didn't argue, they didn't fight. They respected each other immensely. Families respected each other, families accepted, the individuals. And, they started moving towards the marriage conversation. But something happened. And let me backtrack because, I would hate to make light of a situation that hurts. So I'm not laughing out of humor, but laughing out of the audacity of what I'm getting ready to tell you guys. But my friend took the time to propose to his girlfriend, and she didn't say I do at the moment. She said let her think on it or whatever. That was one red flag. So she goes and she gets the ring appraised, and somehow over the course of time she began to feel that she was worth more than a certain value. So in order to invest in her or convincing her that you guys were going to have a future, her ring had to be valued at a certain price. If you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, it's meaning you couldn't just be a good man and have over the course of 8 years have shown yourself to be worthy of her attention and affection, because you've consistently been this person. No, she wanted all of that to be consummated on the ring. If you get me this type of ring, then I'll marry you. Well, that didn't sit well with my friend, and we had several conversations about it. I could tell he was a little hurt, but I, again, don't feel like it was my responsibility to tell him what I saw going. But over the course of this time, everybody in the neighborhood kind of began to pay attention to some new friendships she was developing with her boyfriend's pastor. Well, over time, he's determined to make it work. So, he's willing to do whatever he's pushing. Hey, let's have pre-marriage counseling, which for a married guy, I would recommend. Do the counseling, do the counseling, do the counseling. If you find somebody you think you want to spend the rest of your life with, the least you can do is sit down and talk to a respected figure that has been married and that can tell you some advice, not only just in the beginning, but continually down the road. So they begin to get pre-marriage counseling and different things, and he started to notice a weird connection between the one who was his pastor and his significant other. Well, over time, it's kind of started revealing itself that this whole idea of a relationship was not going to work. And then, to my dismay, this week, my friend has moved on. He's doing phenomenal with his life. God has restored that broken relationship. In the beginning, when it didn't go the way he was hoping, he was devastated. He was devastated. I know a lot of times we don't often think about men in these lights of having feelings and emotions and things bothering them and disturbing them. However, this situation, really rocked him to the core, because that's a long time to spend with anybody, I mean, I see now on social media, I've watched YouTube videos of young people who've been dating 2 months and they're already giving marriage tutorials. So you imagine 8 years. So it didn't work out. But fast forward to last week, my friend reached out to me and told me that news had reached him that the young lady that he was engaged to is now pregnant with the child of the pastor who was counseling them. In this area of broken trust, I wanted to wrap up what I wanted to talk about and frame it around those stories, because sometimes you hear these stories and sometimes don't realize just how deeply that type of betrayal can cut an individual. Not because maybe in his mind or maybe her mind or anybody involved, people are still under the assumption that it could have worked out, because ultimately what God has for us is for us. And when things don't work out, people get over it. People have closure. But when somebody you have respected, somebody you have given just a sense of normalcy into your life, that, hey, I respect you enough to open up, to be transparent, and to come to you for wisdom and advice, when that sort of thing happens to a point where he secretly is counseling your fiance because he wants what you have. So anytime he can sow a negative seed about you into her, and you're not available, or you're not around there, you're unknowing what's even going on, when all this stuff starts to come out, it's exhilarating. So my prayer, my thoughts go out really to any of you guys that are listening to this, that in some capacity you have had some disappointments in the area of trust. We are in a society where divorce rates are high. Often when you're looking at the statistics, or you're hearing the stories of people that are in these lights, somewhere often there has been some broken trust. There's been maybe some faithfulness issues. Maybe some guys can't get it together, but it's not always the guys. Sometimes it's the women. Sometimes people are unhappy in their marriages or in their relationships, and they secretly hold it because sometimes they feel like it's easier, instead of shaking everything up, to just secretly be unhappy. Then there are those who have, issues with identity. They have issues with finances. Money's a big thing that people argue about and they fuss about, and it causes a lot of issues. Sometimes family or each other's families are issues, but these are real life, everyday issues, guys. These are things that we can't overlook, because it's a real part of our daily existence. So my prayer is that for everyone that's listening to these types of podcasts or these kinds of episodes, that it reaches you in a point that that even at this moment, that it's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel how you feel. However, don't get stuck in bitterness. Don't get stuck in this moment where, all you want to do is have retribution against whoever hurt you. Don't get in a point where emotionally you are now controlled and your cognitive thinking has become diminished to a point where you'll stop everything and be willing to put your life at risk. They say often, and there was a biblical scripture that said, jealousy is the rage of a man. Passion, when it steps in, which is often one of the first emotions you'll feel, and then you go through this whole gambit of, I can't say big words, guys, you know that by now, but cyclical change, you'll start finding anger, you'll start finding depression, melancholy, a whole range of emotions that can set in if not properly dealt with. So my bit of advice to any of you that are fighting with broken trust: talk to someone who is qualified to deal with that level of hurt. Talk with someone that's able to take you off the ledge and get you back on your path of promise. Talk with someone that's going to help you realize that this moment does not define who you are. And even for a final note, because I can really go down this path a lot, because honestly, I'm talking about my friend, and I wanted to put this story out because some of you guys who are close to me will also know this friend. So I just wanted to also know how many people that were close to me are actually listening to my podcast. But for a final thought, I want you guys to also know that these defining moments, yes, I call it defining moment, but it's not a defining moment, because if you've ever been hurt, if you've ever, been shaken upside down, kind of, messed up at the core, then you understand what I'm saying to be true, and you understand the emotions that are real. However, your life is so much bigger than right now. I always tell people that one day the sun will shine again. Just keep moving. If you're in one of those kind of storms where you can't see the way, I know you guys have had some try to drive through a few rainstorms where it gets very cloudy and the rain is falling so hard that the windshield wipers aren't moving fast enough. and you feel like you have to pull over and wait the storm out, sometimes you have to do that. But if you got to walk, walk. If you have to crawl, crawl. If you have to skip, skip. If you have to limp, limp. Do what you have to do, but keep putting one foot in front of the other and get where you're going, because your life is so much more than just being stuck in pain. Some people go through moments that they never grow from. Some people are rocked at the core with situations in life that occurs that they don't know what to do. But my prayers are with you guys today, because I want you to know that you can make it and you will make it. You know, suicide is not an answer for you. That's a very hurting thing to have to live through that, but it is a reality when coping with pain that people take different measures out. But before you get to that point, I am encouraging you to talk to someone. Get yourself a new support system if you have to. Find some new friends. Get a new hairstyle. Buy a new shirt. You know what I'm saying? Try some new foods or shakes or something. But don't just wallow in the pain. Anyway, guys, this has been another edition of the End Zone Club. I really wish you guys that are listening would find a way to reach out to me. Let me know you're listening. I'm looking at the analytics. We're in Germany now. That is major. 96% of our listenership and viewership is coming from the United States, but now other countries are picking up on these episodes. So, man, I'm excited. I would love to hear from some of you guys, because, man, if we're going international, I would love to have some international guests. So, guys, link in the bio. Tune in with me. Do what we got to do, but let's be a family. And until next time, y'all be blessed.